is not on. It's really small. It's right there. There's even a little one right there. Then it's not being recorded. Sometimes I do pause because I need to talk about another teacher, which you shouldn't record. But really, it's about copyrighted material. I would want to show you something that somebody else has done. YouTube will block it if I show that in the middle of mine. So then I got to make sure I go back and unpause. Okay. When I like having this available, what I don't like is having it available. Because back in the good old days, we didn't have to worry about all this. So many things that you can do that are extra. Back in the good old days, we had a piece of chalk and a green board, and you just wrote on the board. Students had books, and they had to carry about 8 books from class to class. 100 pounds. Exactly, 100 pounds. And you had to buy the books in a bookstore to get into the class. I went to UCLA for a year and a half. We would actually have to physically wait in line for about a day and a half to get the classes we wanted. And then we'd have to go to another line in the bookstore and wait about, half a day to get into the bookstore to buy, $400 later to buy all the textbooks. And that was 40 years ago. Now, one of the most amazing things that happened when I was at UCLA, I took a computer class. There were no laptops at home. Very few people had a home computer. But in that computer class, I could send a message from my computer to my friend over there at that computer. And if they weren't there, they could get it tomorrow. It would be really good. That's how far it comes. And the message would go downstairs into this big room of all these. They weren't called servers, they were just called storage, computer storage. And back then it was those fields and tables. Things that took up the entire building. Exactly. It was 115 degrees in there. And I was an aerospace engineer. And now it's all, your phone has more power. It's all wireless. A little better? I don't know. It's cool, actually. Start here with this is Math 310 AL, the support class for Math 10. Oops. The Math 10 first class for teaching elementary school students. So there's 2 of them. 10A, then 10B. You're rarely going to see anything on this class's Canvas page. Because in this class, there's no homework, there's no test, there's no quizzes. Everything is based upon participation. And that means, are you here to participate? That's number 1. If there's anything that we actually physically do in class, then it will be done in class. You turn it in. You never have to do anything at all. Okay, and I'll go over how the grade's going to be determined. There is no actual grade. The grade is a pass, no pass. So 70% would be a pass. But what this is for is to make sure that everybody understands what we're going to do in 9/3. Because there are gaps. And what we've basically figured out is we get students in the 10A class and we start needing to talk at a certain concept level. And now we're not ready to cover that concept level because people are missing the pieces of going forward. And it's hard to teach something where we can't begin. So under 10, on this class, all you're going to see is this one, and you'll see the my schedule of courses. and the link to the YouTube channel, but I'm gonna go over that more in depth on the 10A class. The syllabus is gonna be here. I'm gonna give you the physical syllabus in a second. I did some stuff with NASA when I was teaching. I taught high school. I started in 1990 teaching at San Joaquin Memorial High School. I taught there for 3 years. Then I went to Buchanan High School and I taught there for 14 years. And then I've been here since 2007. I started because my brother cut me from the basketball team. We used a high school coach. And I was 14 years old. So when I got cut, I started coaching basketball. Those that can't go. Okay. Because I always was paying attention to what my brother was doing. With all of his games, paid attention, but I was too fat, too slow, couldn't shoot. Obviously, I would have cut me as well. So I started volunteering. You want to get a job? You need experience. How do you get experience? Well, you might want to have to do it for free for a while. So I went back to my elementary school and I basically volunteered. And then somebody gave me a job when I was 15, paid me. And when I left UCLA and came back to Fresno, realizing aerospace engineering was not what I was going to do, I went back to San Joaquin Memorial and I got the JV job to coach shaving board. And that's what I still didn't realize I was going to teach it. My biology teacher, when I was there, I was just 19. After my second year of coaching, when I was 21, he came to me. He's the assistant principal now. He said, you know, you do a decent job coaching basketball. You want to teach math next year? I'm just sitting there going, okay. Well, do you have your degree yet? No. Well, that's okay. You don't need it. It's a private school. So I needed to finish my degree, be working on my degree. So I finished my degree during the summer and one more semester during that fall. But I was smart enough to get my credential because after 3 years, I moved on to Wilkes. And I coached some more basketball. I taught everything at Buchanan High School. I taught every level. I even did one, I call it my year of purgatory at the intermediate school, junior high. After 2 months, I was ready to work 3 shifts at 7-Eleven and go back to 7-Eleven. That's a rough age. Remember a student, and I still remember his name, whose mom came in and sat with him during class. It was her suggestion. And he had to definitely with the administration, but yeah. Handful. And the only thing that saved my brain, my sanity was, do you want to coach? You got to have an outlet. You got to keep your sanity. You got to find something that keeps you going, no matter what it is. And at that level, I went from coaching guys to coaching the girls team. So I started coaching the 8th grade girls, and then when I went to TTh, I started coaching the women's team. Never wanting to take a head coaching job because you know what? It's not fun. Head coaches don't think they can pick up. But that's how I got here. Always makes the year go faster. Problem with that is I don't remember the last 40 years. It went by a little too fast. They got a balance. You know what? It is very, very rewarding. Every August is a new. Okay. Sometimes you don't want to stop. There was a brief moment in 2001 where I thought I was going to be an astronaut, so I applied, and they said, "You're too fat, you're too slow, and you don't have the eyes on the." So that's okay. I did something good. Okay, so that's your paper. Let's get to those. None of that will be on the line. There. Get you a stack to pass around this side of the room. See, if I know there's more than here, I'll pick up the rest of it. We're not going to hit everything on this because we'll talk about the most of pieces when we do the 10A class at 9:30 because it has more information about dates and things like that. So 310 AL, I don't even think I said my name yet. Jim Esquivel. See, phone number is kind of useless. I'm never in the office. Okay, you'll find me here. And so the best way to get a hold of me is email, office hours, before class, every day of the week, Monday through Friday. And then on Tuesdays, I have another one right after my 12 o'clock class. So from 1:30 to 2:20. And again, the best way to get a hold of me is the email. And for those dates, so 9:30. This is a non-credit support class for students currently enrolled in Math 10A, Math for Elementary School Teachers, course number 1. The course will offer just-in-time remediation, and the topics will vary depending on student needs, but may include place value, integers, prime factorization, ratios and proportions, arithmetic operations, patterns, modeling, problem solving, and more. Based upon physics, maybe a little chemistry, I don't know. But the idea is, if any of those words are foreign to you, place value shouldn't be, but maybe the term integers, rational numbers, irrational numbers, complex numbers, real numbers, whole numbers, natural numbers, cardinality. Math is a language. I didn't realize that until I had to start teaching. Just like any other foreign language you have to learn. If you don't know what that person in the front of the room is talking about because of the language, it's not going to resonate. You're not going to hold on to it. When they say the word factory, what does that mean? Versus distribution, multiply, least common denominator, greatest common denominator, greatest common factor. All those words can just start to make your head swim. What am I supposed to do now? Sum and difference. What happens is, and this is, if you're going to be a teacher, one of the most stressful phrases you'll hear from a student, and it will stress you out, is, when am I ever going to have to use this? So you start to describe when you're going to use it. Look at this word problem. You have to have, Johnny has 3 now, Billy has 9 now. I don't like word problems. I want to do it. But you wanted to know when you might have to use this. Look how we can use the equations, but I don't want to do word problems. They don't make sense. But you asked when you're going to have to use this. This shows you, but I'm not going to sell Apple. So there's no connection to it. If you start with language, that's half the battle. Okay. Now, course objectives in this one. Arithmetic operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, on real numbers without a calculator. Now, you're gonna get to use calculator, but can you do it without a calculator? Is that frightening? Even when it comes to decimal. Okay, but here's the place where you have the freedom to make mistakes. And it's not gonna hurt you, it's not gonna cost you. So feel free to make mistakes. You're supposed to. So you have the chance, there's no stress about getting it wrong. It's not gonna affect your grade. What's gonna affect your grade in the future is if you quit. You don't use the opportunity to make yourself better. Pattern recognition, problem solving skills, calculate the least common multiples, greatest common divisor. Familiarity with place value. Recognize properties of whole, rational, real number systems, including decimal representation. Demonstrate number line representation. Okay. You're not going to receive a letter grade. It's pass, no pass only. There's no homework, no quizzes, no tests. Rest solely on completion of daily in-class assignments, worksheets, or participate. I don't give a lot of in-class assignments. We work on stuff on the board. I expect you to follow along, write your own notes as you feel necessary. If there is something that I want you to do and turn it in, then sure. But I've never had to see a student not do something. I've never seen it because the students that are taking the support class know they need it to be successful in the next class. When I say the next class, I mean the one that happens 15 or 10 minutes from it, or 10 minutes from this one will go. In order to get the passing grade, you need 70%. Every time you're here, you get 10 points. So you need 70% of all the points. We meet 18 times. So that's 180 points. So you need 70% of those. 70% of 880 points. That would be a word problem. What is 7 times 18? Seven times 18. Think of 18 as a 10 and an 8. 126. Think of 18. 18 is a 1 and an 8, obviously, and you're going 7 times 1 and 8. But it's really 7 times 10 plus 8. So when you're trying to figure something like that in your head, the distributive property, distribution, the distributive property says if you have some number A times the sum or even a difference, but the sum addition of two other numbers, you can just multiply A times the first one, A times B, and then take A times the second one plus A times C. You can distribute A to both of those and then add the products together. So I can multiply 7 times 10, and then I can multiply 7 times 8, so plus 7 times 8. 7 times 10 is 70. 7 times 8 is 56. 56. So now you're adding 70 plus 56. What's nice is that it's a 7. That first number, because it's in the tens, is going to be a value of 10. There was 38 would be 7 times 3, so it'd be 21. And it would be in the 10, so it would be 210. So it would be counting as a 30. And then plus a 56. So you can break that 18 down and make it a simpler number when you're having to do it in your head. So now 70% of 180 points means 0.70 as a decimal times 180, 7 times 18. So I'm giving you all these numbers over here. 7 times 18 is 126. So 70%, I'm going to basically take the 126 out of 180 would be a 70%. Because you would move the decimal point out. Just a way to think it through. You're going to run up against kids. You think teaching's going to be, oh, why don't you get it? Why don't you get it? How come you're not getting it? I'm going to have to work. You're going to have students in class that are way ahead of you. I've had students that are so much more smart. They'd be geniuses over. They're a lot smarter than I. When I taught AP classes, they were all smarter than I. My freaking son. Yeah, he's really smart, but he was very lazy. I had 3 students in my entire AP teaching, when I was teaching high school. 3 sophomores that took AP Calculus BC their sophomore year. He was one of them. And that's because when I was teaching summer school at the junior college, he sat in my Algebra 1 class as a 6th grader. So then he took geometry as a 7th grader, and Algebra 2 as an 8th grader. Took my honors advanced math as a freshman, and then boom, was in my calculus BC class. And we slept. You know how hard it is to have a parent conference with your son? And when he's sleepy, if you throw something at him, you still have to go talk to the principal about something like that. Me and my wife have to talk about. Your son is anyway so much smarter than I was, every single one of them. But you know what? You know how many people A students, 4 point whatevers that go into engineering, and you know how many quit because they can't handle it, because they might get their first meeting. So many because they can't handle the language. They can do problems all day long, they can't handle the language when it gets tough. So you gotta be prepared for all of it. So you need 126 out of 180 to get the 70. That's all. Chance to also figure that out. Big brain. If you're absent, how everybody's going to change. It's not going to count against you. If you're absent and we turn something in, which is again rare, but if you're absent and we turn something in, the next day you come back, I'll give you another day to get it done, come back, bring it in. But if we didn't turn anything in, you don't have anything to worry. Okay? Communication is imperative. If you're absent, all you have to do is email. I'm going to be absent. I'll see you the next day. You do not need to tell me why. You do not need to give me a doctor's note. In fact, I don't want a doctor's note. That's between you and your doctor. You don't have to prove anything to me. I trust you. And honestly, the less information I have to work with, the better. Now, if it becomes a bigger problem, then you know what? You got to take care of that, whatever bigger problem is, something going on in your life. Maybe talk to a counselor, and then something is like You're missing so many classes. Withdrawal, emergency withdrawal. Okay, those kinds of things. Is your grade suffering? Those kinds of things. And that would go for the 10A class. In this class, it's just going to be, and there's in college, there is no excused absence. It's just an absence. But in here, I'm not going to take the points away from you. It's just, you might have to only, now you're only working out of 107. But if I don't hear from you, that's a 0. But if I do hear from you, I'm just going to contact you. That's all. That's the difference between the two. So out of 180, you're at 107. If you miss 3 times, you contact me 3 different those each time. You now have only 150 to worry about. Does that make sense? If you leave early and you let me know, that's not going to count against you. You were here. If you showed up late, as long as I took roll. If I took roll, then you're not late. You were here to check here. You weren't late. But if I took roll and you never heard to say here, then you need to make sure you see me and you take care of it. But you just got to communicate. So if you left early and I took roll and you never got a chance, that would be, you didn't communicate. That'd be 5 points on. Unless you communicate. You're not going to lose anything if you communicate. Okay. And I keep track of it. And here's what I mean by communicate. You're going to get an email from me every day. I'm going to send you an email through Canvas with the recording, direct recording to the YouTube video, so you don't have to go to the playlist and try to find it. So you have just direct link to that date. Now, if you want to see one from 3 weeks ago, go to the YouTube channel. You find the playlist. It's going to be right there under Math 304 BL or TL, Math 304 AL, and then for Math 10A, it'll be under Math 10A. I'm going to separate both of them so you don't have to sit there and watch for an hour and a half, 2 hours. So you'll get 2 emails from me, 1 for each class. Do not just hit reply through the Canvas. I can't separate those out to the other folders. Plus, I always am paranoid about hitting return all or reply. I've done that once. Years and years ago, somebody was asking about a grade. You never want to send somebody's grade with a reply. But if they send a reply all and I'm not paying attention, I'm just replying to them, then bad things can happen. Not bad things, but things that true. So email me to my Outlook account. And I just don't do it through Canvas, do it through your school account. Just make sure you identify yourself. There we go. After 6 missed classes, you would be dropped. And if I dropped you from this class, you would be dropped from the 10A class. Because they do go together. You can't be in one without being in the other. Okay? It's like peanut butter chocolate, peanut butter jelly, Forrest and Jenny. You know who Forrest Gump is? Was. No, that's a 30-year record. So after 6 missed classes, you'd be dropped, and that would be enough to get us to the midway through the middle of the semester. Beginning your seat at the beginning and the end of the class, and again, this is applied more toward the 10A. 2 tardies equal 1 absence, 2 leaving earlies equal 1 absence. But again, if you communicate, this would have no bearing. Disruptive behavior, academic dishonesty. Well, cheating and plagiarism really is going to happen in this lab, in the 10A type. 304 AL. Oh, I'm not good with numbers and letters. That was my first inclination when I was in high school, Algebra 1. What are these letters doing in the back? I don't know I don't understand what's going on. I really didn't. No clue. But at 9:30, that will be particular. Please, I don't mind if you have to step out, gotta send a quick text message, you need to call somebody. You know, gotta take care of somebody in the family, emergency, things like that. Take care of it. If it's a quick text message, I don't mind. But when you're on your phone all class long, it's gonna be a disruption to the class. It's distracting to the class because you know what? I will start talking about it and not talking about what's going on up here. I don't want to call anybody out, but if it is going to be a disruption, then and the message isn't getting through, I will ask you to leave for that day. I could ask you to leave for as much as 2 days, and you wouldn't be able to make the work. Okay. If you have verified need for an academic accommodation or materials in alternate media, braille, large print, electronic text, etc., per the American with Disabilities Act or Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act, let me know as soon as possible. I will get those from the DSPS office if you have already submitted. Let me take roll. See if I butcher those names first. Lawrence, Joe Thompson, Roxana Lopez Santiago, Josiane Trinidad, Cassie, Angelina Doyle, Angelina Doyle, Jasmine Ramirez, Yvonne Garcia Cruz, Anu Mendoza, Olga Olivo Solis, Leonor Caballero Aguilar, Leslie Pacheco, Ariana Martinez. I'm doing okay on pronunciation for her. No. Aiden Hernandez, Autumn Richardson, Paul Richardson, Ned Geronimo Sullivan, Dawson Water, Ava Quintel, Kelsey Walton, Kimberly Torres, and Fernanda Mosqueda Garcia. All right, so nobody is here trying to add. Can I call them? For 6, 6, 9, 12, 12. 1, 2, gotta be sure. 1, 2, hold on. So then that get numbers come out right. I counted wrong, but I did not. Yeah, never mind. All right, so let's come on back at 9:30, where I hope to be a little bit more awake. And I will get your name and your ID number. Okay, back at 9:30. Please pause or turn off the recording.